Hello everyone, welcome to the Ginger Snaps here. I'll be discussing horror movies with you guys in a very blunt way. I'm your host, Steven Harrold, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys my personal review for Sting, which was released on April 12th, 2024, this past Friday, and as we all know, it's another killer spider movie that, shockingly, I don't think anyone really asked for. So the movie like this, going back to the giant spider horror films, I mean, we've had many of those. We've had, Tarantula back in the 1950s. We had Arachnophobia, which is a classic. And then, of course, we had Eight-Legged Freaks and many other spider movies which had giant killer spiders. Now, of course, with this film, I can't go without saying that this movie is 14A, and we do have to have the bare basics of this is mainly for kids, because it's a very type of tamed film, and it's kind of like almost like a gateway horror film that features a giant spider in there. So let's get into talking about this film. For the story of this movie, of course, it's, a little girl comes across a spider that has come from outer space in a fucking meteor shower, I guess. And this spider is obviously an alien creature, but is in the form of a spider, right? So it's just like, okay, you kind of lose me there. But, this little girl befriends it, he makes it a pet, gives it a name, Sting. This thing can imitate a sound, like the whole trailer just plays that whole whistle sound. And it got old during that fucking trailer. But other than that, when it comes to the story, she's helping her stepdad, I guess you could say, make a comic that features her in the comic. And, she's kind of going through life just, preteen and whatnot. And every time she feeds this spider grows and grows and grows to the point where it's just scientifically impossible for this spider to grow. And then a lot of people just happen to die or go missing and hear a bunch of creaks and bumps throughout the walls of this whole entire apartment complex. And then eventually the little girl has to basically hunt the spider down after it kidnaps its her family. This story is, it's almost like, Evil Dead Rise, set in an apartment complex, but it features a spider. And it's not the strongest story, especially when it comes to certain character arcs and payoffs with this thing, because I find it with this story, this movie, while watching it in theaters, it was almost predictable. Like, it was like every single scene that was coming, I was just like, yeah, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. And sure shit, it does happen. And that can always be a very problematic thing for your story on a film that you're making. And the bottom line is, if the fans know or the audience knows what's coming next, and it's predictable, but yet it's a new film, not like a film from a franchise or anything, there's troubles right there. There's not much to say about the characters of this movie. I mean, they all do a pretty damn good job. I mean, the little girl herself, she does a fine job in her role. The stepdad as well, very nice guy. And the mom and the other people that live in the complex, they're kind of just throwaway characters. But there's only one character in the whole entire movie that kind of got a chuckle out of me, and that is the old lady with dementia. She's the only one in the whole entire movie that, seems to get a lot of screen time half the time. And when she's on the screen and she says a quirky line or, something funny, the audience reacted to it. So her character is not too bad. When it comes to all these characters with this movie, the majority of them are kind of bland. I mean, you don't really get to know a lot about them. And by the time you get a little glimpse of what they're like, they either fucking die or it goes absolutely nowhere with them. So when it comes to characters, only 3 stand out in this whole entire movie. As we all know, the big bad of this movie is a fucking spider that's named Sting. No, not the WCW wrestler Sting. No, not that Sting. Just Sting. What can I say? I kind of knew this spider was going to be a CGI creature. Gone are the days like Arachnophobia, where you had practical spiders or real spiders with little digital effects on certain spiders. But when it comes to this particular spider, originally when I would see in the trailers, I thought it was a Black Widow until I realized this is not even a Black Widow at all. It's almost like, you know, how can a Black Widow be from outer space, like a spider from outer space, and it resembles a Black Widow? Like I said, this spider, when it comes to all the, you know, craziest creatures of, you know, 8-legged arachnids in other horror movies, this one is very forgettable. The kills, as I've already said, is 14A. So some of the kills are all right. I mean, you only get to see a certain glimpse of a kill, or you don't get to see much of a fucking kill. There's only one that is dragged out quite a bit, and that's the only one that is basically the most memorable of the whole entire movie, but we saw a glimpse of it in the fucking trailer. So that kind of ruins it. Even the spider's demise, it was like the minute, it was kind of like a foreshadowing thing. Like there's a scene where something happens, like you're showing something, and it's basically like, oh, that's gonna play a role in the fucking movie later on. And sure enough, it does. It plays a role in the movie very much later on. Like I said, there was a lot of things that, you know, harken back to like me expressing that this is like Evil Dead Rise. When they showed the wood chipper in the basement garage, it was like, oh, that's gonna come into play later. This movie is the similar thing when it comes to its kills. It's almost like, yeah, you knew this person was going to die, or you knew this was going to happen. And, I mean, one kill being very memorable, that's not very much a good thing, especially when it's a movie about a killer spider from outer space. This movie also does steal certain tropes. I mean, like, when we are introduced to the fucking spider in the fucking movie, it immediately rips off Alien. And then, in the climax of the movie, it rips off the Terminator. If you guys seen the Terminator, you'll know exactly how this spider eats its fucking demise. So, it's stealing a lot of things. Like I said, this movie kind of reminds me of Evil Dead Rise. Now, when I started thinking about it, ever since I watched it, which was this past Saturday, and you know, it's kind of like one of those movies where it's just like, okay, they're taking certain things from other movies that worked, and they're jamming it into this film. And even like the family drama that goes on in this movie, I'm like, fuck, I've seen better family drama in other fucking movies. But I have to get to the part where like the ending of the movie is basically like, as soon as like everything, the spider's been defeated, whatever, right? Family's all together. I even said, it's going to pan right, we're going to see a nest, and an egg hatches. Sure enough, pan right, see a nest, egg hatches, movie's over. So it basically sets up a fucking sequel, which, I don't know about you guys, but this movie seems like it's more of a one-off, and it should just be a one-off, because, yeah, it's not really that good for a sequel or to start a franchise. In saying all my thoughts with this whole entire movie, this movie is basically very bland, and it's one of those movies that is maybe a good gateway horror film for young kids or teens or preteens. But other than that, like this movie, after watching it, it's like, am I going to remember this movie in 5 years? Probably not. It's definitely one of those movies where it's just like, okay, maybe I'll own it at one point, but I guarantee it'll just be sitting on my shelf and I'll never watch it, or I'll probably have my daughter watch it, but she probably won't watch it after a while. Other than that, this movie, I ended up walking out of it a little bit disappointed, because it was like, it's like, I'm a guy who likes spiders. Like, I do like spiders. I don't mind them. And seeing a lot of good spider movies, this wasn't one of them. And this is quite possibly going to be one of those that are very forgettable. I mean, like, we have Arachnophobia, and that was a much better fucking movie. Now, not just with the star power alone, but what they do with the spiders in that fucking movie. Hell, there was even like a low-budget, straight-to-DVD movie called Spiders, and that was better. Especially with the acting being so cringe. That movie was better. other than that, when it comes to this film, it's pretty forgettable. And, you know, I could say, you know, go ahead and watch it. I mean, like, you might enjoy the film. But for me, it was kind of meh type of film. So, guys, for my rating, I'm going to give Sting a 3 out of 10. So if you guys did see the movie Sting, what did you guys personally think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you also hit that thumbs up if you like this video, and also subscribe for more content. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you can get notified about all the other videos coming out on the channel. Anyways, guys, I know it's been a while since I made a video, but don't worry, they're going to start pumping out because, you know, I have a few movies that have to be reviewed, a few anniversaries, and of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs are about to begin. So prepare for those videos too. Other than that, that's it for me. This has been the Ginger Snaps here. My name is Steven Harrold. I will talk to you guys later, and remember to stay spooky.